Hi there. I want to welcome those who are joining us on the webinar live, and if you're watching this recording, hello also. I'm going to ask you if you're attending to put yourself on mute, and we'll get started in a little bit. So in the meantime, if you want to go ahead and just put in the chat where you're calling from, that would be really cool to hear. And also, if you could put yourself on mute during the presentation, that would be appreciated by everybody. And also, we can have time at the end for any questions. So I'm going to get started. I'm going to present my screen. Awesome. So this is Your Network is Networking. This is how to get referrals for everything you need. And hopefully you're going to find this useful. So let's get started and let's talk a little bit about networking. Before I get started, I just want to share with you a little bit why I'm qualified. So I'm not a recruiter. I'm not an HR person. I'm just a person who's been looking for jobs in their career, just like you. And I have over time been able to find this method to be very useful, not only during my career, but now as a career coach with everyone that I'm working with. So I'm an expert in the sense that I've been there, I've done it, and I've used the methodologies. Before I get started, again, I want to share a little bit my story. I graduated as an engineer, and in that time, in 1993, I did what a lot of people did. I sent out hundreds of job applications, got some responses, 5 interviews, 1 job offer, all of that for 6 months of search. And I thought that can't be the way to find a job for the rest of my life. So I went and got a career coach who helped me understand the best way to find a job. And this is the secret, the second most important secret that you need to find a job. 10 years later, I had 3 job applications. I would get 3 responses, 2 interviews, 2 job offers, and all in only 2 months of search. And in fact, 2003 was actually the last time in my career up until 2019 when I actually used job applications for my job search. Instead, I've always used my network because that's where a majority of the unadvertised jobs are. So I'm going to be talking about networking. If there's 2 important things to take away from this webinar today is that, first of all, and I'm not going to talk about that here, is that you need an objective. This doesn't work if you don't know what you want. Just like a GPS cannot tell you how to get there if you don't enter your destination. That's the first important point in your job search, is to know what you want. The second most important one, and that's what I'm going to talk about today, is milestone number 3, is networking to get all the interviews that you need. Like I said before, a majority of the jobs are not advertised. So that means that you need help in finding those opportunities. And those opportunities could be anywhere. So by networking, you're going to get people to help you find a job. And that's exactly what networking is all about. Is everyone is out on the lookout for me. Everyone knows what I want. Everyone knows about me and can help me find the opportunities out there. The more people you know, the bigger your network, the more opportunities are going to be available to you. And also give you more visibility to the job market. So let's talk about a story about Jane. Jane's quit her job and she wanted to move into a less stressful job. So we worked together on a networking plan. And what was interesting about this is that she was looking at a certain organization and she was doing volunteer work, helping them with conferences, etc. But unfortunately was not getting anywhere in there. But she continued to network, she continued to do the conferences, and lo and behold, during one of those conferences, one of the attendees approached her about a potential job. It was 100%, and she wanted 80%, but that didn't matter. She discussed, and 2 months later, she actually negotiated a contract for an 80% job, and a job that she really enjoyed. So you see, by going out there and getting networking, you're going to find more opportunities because there's going to be people out there helping you find a job. Now, what we're going to talk about today is how do I get other people to, for example, act as a reference? 60% of the jobs found today are through referrals, meaning someone referred you to someone for an interview. So the bigger your network, the better. People base relationships on trust. So if you're recommended by someone, you're going to have a much bigger credibility in terms of trust. I want to also show you how to get people to suggest referrals for you. Also, you can see how people in your network can help you contact employers. We all know, for example, that if we want to target a certain organization, a good way to do that is to look in your network who knows who in that organization and who can refer you in that organization. You can also get others to recommend recruiters, supply information, which is a very useful aspect of networking. Networking is not only about trying to find your job, but it's also about trying to find information about where those jobs are so that you can land an interview. And finally, get others to make introductions for you. So before we get into networking, I want to talk a little bit about what networking isn't, okay? Networking is marketing. It's not selling. It's not going out there, pushing your CV, telling people that you're looking for a job. So before I continue here, if you could type in the chat, yes or no, how many of you out there are currently looking for a job? Hi, Claire from Lausanne. So go ahead and type in there if you're looking for a job. If you're not, that's okay, because networking is important regardless of when you're looking for a job. And in fact, I would recommend that you start networking today and you continue for the rest of your career. It's something that's going to help you for a long, long time, and it will evolve. So what is networking? First of all, how many people here cringe at the thought of networking? Type yes. Usually people are afraid of networking because they think it's going up to strangers and giving them their CV, but that's not it at all. Networking, like marketing, is to look for as many different channels as possible on how you can approach people. The obvious one is you can directly contact someone that you've never met before. Another way is you can also ask friends and family or previous colleagues. But there's many, many more ways. You can go to conferences. You can attend seminars. You can give actual speeches. You can write articles. There's a lot of different ways to network. And the more you do, and the more different types of channels you find, the more visibility you're going to give to yourself. All right. Another way to network is through influential people. And by that, I don't mean asking Taylor Swift to hashtag you on your Twitter account, but influential people, meaning people who have influence in organizations. For example, maybe you know someone who is a vice president in an organization, and they can help you there. You can also network through business activities. For example, if you're an engineer, there's a lot of different engineering associations. If you're an accountant, there's a lot of different accountant associations. Look for certain associations, as we mentioned before. Networking can also be through advice letters. So for example, you could ask people for information or advice about industries or trends. But you can also network from a zero base, meaning not knowing the person and being completely new. So the idea of networking is to find an approach that you're comfortable with but also at the same time, look for as many different approaches as possible. You don't know where your future line manager is looking today. So you need to be out there in as many different channels as possible. So let's talk about some simple methods that you can use to get some help. First of all, you want to select those people who are most likely to be your supporters, right? Of course, we have friends and family, but we also have past colleagues that we worked really well with. Could even be people that we've met. Doesn't matter. Look for the people who are going to support you and talk well about you. Another thing to be mindful about is make your requests sound important, right? Let them know you're looking for your next role, you're looking for a job, you're interested in being promoted. Let people know how important that is for you and why. Another thing that's important is to make sure that your contact is a pleasant experience for others. And this is why we're networking and marketing and not selling. Okay. Pushing a CV, or for example, maybe you've done this. Hey, I'm open to any opportunity. This doesn't help anyone. You need to be specific. I'm looking for a role where I can use my project management skills and build a better tomorrow. Or I'm looking for a role where I can find a more leadership responsibility and grow and develop. Make sure that you be very clear about what you want. Also, you want to let people know what this next role means to you. Sometimes we've been laid off, so we need a new job, but also it could be we want to be promoted, we want to grow, maybe we want to change industries. I've done that. I changed from the IT industry to pharmaceutical industry. I've changed from aerospace industry to electronics industry. So that was because these roles meant something to me. For example, also I wanted to move. I wanted to relocate. So I let them explain why this was important to me and usually to my family. Let people know you're thinking of a new opportunity. So some tips before you start networking. First of all, make sure you do your homework and you're prepared. Know what you're going to say and practice it. So be intentional with your networking. It's not about being pushy or annoying or self-serving. It's about developing relationships. That's the most important feature of networking, developing relationships and helping each other. If we help someone, then someone's going to help us. And in a networking community, if we're all helping each other, that's going to be great. When you start networking, make sure you decide what your strengths are and what achievements you want to get across. Usually I do this by having stories at hand that demonstrate my achievements or my strengths. Also, make sure when you're networking, you don't try to fool them. Don't give them false pretenses. Don't, for example, ask that you just want to have a call about information, and then quickly you're trying to push into them to read your CV or even to ask for a job. All right. Another thing about networking, and this is very important, is that you're going to build a large community that you need to follow up with actions. So develop a plan of action, structure your plan, and structure and organize your networking activities. This way, you don't let anything fall through the cracks. And before I get to the last point, I want to mention something. I'm not a big fan of job ads. In fact, if you're applying for jobs, I recommend that you don't spend more than 10% of your job searching time on job ads. These are of low impact and low probability, and they basically bring you to despair and frustration. Another 10% could be on recruiters. Recruiters are great. They have a lot of knowledge about the industry, and they also know about what possible job openings are. But again, the probability of them having the dream job that you want at the time that you call them is not necessarily going to be possible. So instead, pick one or two recruiters, depending on your industry or geography, and use them in your network and develop that relationship. So where's the other 80% of your time being spent? It's on networking. Whenever you don't have any other actions to take, you should be expanding your contacts. And why is that? Well, basically, people conduct business based on relationships and emotions. And they later validate that decisions based on logic. It's not the other way around. They don't look at your CV, go, oh, you have the skills, I'm going to hire you. Instead, it's more about your attitude and how you come across that's going to sell you. And then your CV is just a way to logically explain why I should hire you. By networking, you're going to make yourself, first of all, much more visible. There's going to be many more opportunities. And in fact, a lot of times the opportunities will come in ways that you never imagined. Another thing about networking is that if you get recommended, already you become part of a smaller pool of candidates than all those others who've put in the job applications. So by being referred to someone or having a contact, that's going to develop trust and you'll be part of an inner circle in the hiring process. So be sure to figure out what you want before you start networking. I'm going to stop here and see if there's any questions. No? All right. And I'm going to continue. So remember, I said that networking is about not only helping you find a job, but also about helping others. So when you're thinking about networking, please don't only do this when you need a job. That's not going to work. That's kind of like gardening only when you're hungry. Okay. Networking is a full-time activity that you want to keep doing. So in the same way that people can help you, make sure that you help others. You can act as a reference. You can also suggest referrals. Hey, Mary, I saw this opportunity. This could be something interesting for you. You can also help them contact employers. I've done this many times. People have called me and asked me, hey, I'm interested in supply chain in Nestle. Who could I contact there? And of course, having access to that information, I don't mind sharing it. I can also recommend recruiters. I could even supply information about industries or trends that are going on right now. I want to make another point is that you want to be specific and intentional. All right. Being open is just like having a giant black hole. Asking people to be on the lookout for a job for you is not going to work. It's the equivalent of me asking you to find a plant. What plant? What kind of plant? Are you looking for fruits, vegetables, flowers? What are you looking for? So the more specific and intentional you can be, the better. So if you haven't already, I want you to go ahead and figure out what is your key objective? What's your dream job? And don't worry about fear of missing out because you're too specific. It's better to be on target and slightly off than to be randomly shooting arrows into the forest and hope you hit something. So remember, when you're trying to network, make sure that you're helping others, but at the same time, help others help you by being specific in terms of what you're searching for, in terms of job description, industries, or even the type of role that you're looking for. And of course, if you're helping others, it can be very rewarding and fun. Nothing makes me more happy than someone asking me if they can help, if I can help them in their job search. So I want to wrap this up with another story, and this one involves me. I was working in Belgium, and that was in 2003, 2003. That was the last time I had applied for a job. And so I was really working on this networking idea. And in fact, I just discovered that it's almost 20 years I've been on LinkedIn since 2004. But anyways, I'm jumping ahead. My story is this. I went to a conference in London. We were living in Belgium. It was one of these continuous improvement conferences, a lot of blah, blah, blah. But there was this woman, Estelle Clark, just an amazing presentation with visuals. She burned a 50 euro note. It was just amazing the way she talked. And I thought, I need to introduce myself. I'm not looking for a job. I'm not doing any of that. It's just, wow, that person is fascinating. So, because I'm a little scared, I had to ask my colleague Xavier to come with me and help me out. And I went up to Estelle and introduced myself along with Xavier, letting him know that we were master black belts working in Belgium at an IT company. And so we struck up a conversation about mutual interests. And eventually she asked me what was it that I wanted to do. And I explained to her I was interested in moving into pharma, into a pharma company. And I also wanted to move back to Switzerland, which is kind of my home country, or that of my wife. And that was it. I left it at that. I was very energetic. I didn't tell her I was looking for a job. In fact, I wasn't. I just let her know what I was interested in. 6 months later, I got a call from a headhunter, an exclusive headhunter based in Paris. I was like, wow, how did they find me? She said she had a very interesting role based in Switzerland for a master black belt in a pharma company. Would I be interested in talking to her? Of course I was. I was like, wow, that's exactly my dream job. And so I went down and I had an interview and then we started a conversation. And then at the end of the interview, I was curious. I said, how did you find me? Did you see me on LinkedIn? She said, no. When I reached out looking for this role, I contacted some people in my network, and one of them was Estelle Clark. And Estelle Clark mentioned that she had met you. She was impressed with my energy and my passion, and she recommended my name. Needless to say, in July of that year, I signed a contract and we got to move to Switzerland, which was great. So networking is going to be the key, not only to your next role, but networking is the key to the rest of your career. So get started today. And if you don't know how, and if we're not connected, then let's connect already. And if we are connected, then I would encourage you to look through my connections, use a filter, do a search, and find people that are interesting. And if you want an introduction, just let me know. I would be more than happy to share that with you. So I'm going to stop right there, and I'm going to let you, if you want to unmute yourself or ask a question in the chat, that would be my pleasure to answer them. If not, I want to thank you for your attention. I know it's been short, but if you would like to talk more about networking, I'm going to put into the chat, just give me a second. This is a link to my Calendly, and I give out these free coaching sessions to anyone who is interested in talking about their career. I'm not going to sell you anything, but I am there to help. So with this, you can book a 1-hour call and we can talk about your career. If you'd like to talk about networking strategies for you specifically, we could do that too. Like I said, this is not a sales pitch. I'm not going to sell you anything. I'm just here to help. I also want to share another video with you. Give me a second. This second link is a small YouTube video that I've done last year on a similar webinar, which explains the different steps and milestones that I use and my clients use to find their next job. No job ads, no making your CV adapted to any ATS system, no hundreds and hundreds of applications. It's a simple methodology, 4 milestones to get you from where you are today to your goal of your dream job. So go ahead and take that out. I got a question here from Fabienne. Can you actually network
Yes.
to identify your
Yes.
dream job?
Hello,
Yes,
Bill.
of course.
Yeah,
You
can you
can,
hear me?
Fabienne.
Yeah. Now, it's actually the point is that you're saying, obviously, that we need to be precise and sharp when we approach a network, especially if we don't know them so closely. But what if we actually are networking to even understand what we want to do next? How to approach that? I mean,
I've done that. So for example, when I was starting out as an engineer, I was an ocean engineer. So I learned to build submarines and stuff like that. And we moved out to Seattle and I used networking for that exact reason. I wanted to know what kind of opportunities were there? Was there enough money as an ocean engineer? What kind of roles could I apply for? So that then I could gear my CV to that. So I made contact with people in the industry and just asked them, hey, I'm interested to know the trends. I'm interested to know what kind of roles are available. And I just would like to start a conversation. So yes, Fabienne, you can definitely use networking to identify your dream job.
okay, clear. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? So if there aren't any other questions, like I said, go ahead and click on those links. If we are not connected, let's connect on LinkedIn. Let's have a conversation. And yeah, please start working on your networking if you haven't already. It was the best advice I ever got in 2002 as I was leaving Hewlett Packard. My manager and I, we were made redundant in a restructuring. And that was the best advice he ever gave me. He says, Bill, if there's one piece of advice I can give you, it's this: start building your network. Now, the thing about your network is that it will change over time. Let me tell you, 10 years ago, my network consisted of basically guys like me in their 50s, white males, engineers, and scientists. And of course, that doesn't suit me anymore today. So my network has changed considerably. Now I have 90% of them are women, women working in science, technology, engineering, and maths, because that's what I need and that's what I want to help with. So make sure your network is a network or a community of interests that's going to serve you, but at the same time that you can serve them. Make sure you add people that reflect your values, your interest, industries, or even areas of interest. That's the essential part. That's what creates the connection and the relationship, is when we have something in common. If there's no more questions, I want to thank you very much. Thank you, Deepa. Many thanks. Thank you, Birgit. I want to thank everybody for attending. And thank you also for anyone who's listening to this recording. I appreciate your attention and hopefully we'll meet soon, either online or maybe even face to face. So thank you again, everybody, and have a nice evening, afternoon, or morning, no matter where you are. Bye-bye.